Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, we've organised this as part of Mental Health Awareness Week. The theme this year being anxiety, and our lovely Lillia from Creative is going to talk to us about how you can reduce anxiety with nutrition. Over to you, Lillia.
Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the intro. So most of you know me in my creative capacity as a designer, but on the side, I'm also a nutritional therapist. So I've had great fun popping together this presentation for you guys. So just before we start, I'd like you just to ask you to grab a pen and paper, because we've got a couple of little interactive bits coming up. So if you can just have that ready, that would be great. Okay, let's get going. So a little intro about me. So I am a registered scientific evidence-based nutritional therapist. And the way I work is a bit like a health detective. So I seek out the root cause of illness rather than addressing surface symptoms of the body to bring it back into balance. And this encompasses many different areas. So very topically, it encompasses mental health, specifically sort of anxiety and depression, but all areas of mental health. And then also, I also work in endocrine health, so that's hormones, fatigue and energy related symptoms, immune system, reproduction, neurology, digestion, and also weight loss. So I've had my own anxiety health journey as well. I think it's something that touches most people at some point. And for me, it's been with me since a child. And everything's different, or reasons for anxiety is different for different people. But when I found nutrition and through testing and research, this was how I found to best support myself, along with a plethora of other things that I call upon, but this has made a big difference to me. So I'm hoping there's something here that you guys can pick up on that will also help you out. So first of all, I just want to give you 30 seconds for you just to have a little think about what anxiety is for you and how it affects you. So this might be how it makes you feel, where you feel it, how it affects your work relationships, your family relationships, or it could be your friendships. So I'll just give you another 10 seconds just to have a little think for you. And then if you feel comfortable, it'd be great if you could share that in the chat box, just one word for what anxiety means to you. And Ellie, I can't actually see the chat box in my presentation mode.
Oh, okay. I can read any out for you. Any that come through. I on a personal one, I was just going to put for me, anxiety shows up more in physical symptoms. So I often feel sick, headachy, kind of nauseous, lightheaded.
Yeah.
No one else has put anything down. Does anybody have anything to add? Obsessive thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Limiting is my word. Heart racing and overthinking.
Yeah.
Tense and lack focus. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, guys. It's far-reaching and it's slightly different for everyone. And for me, I get a stone in my chest and I feel like someone's like pressing down on it as well. So they're all very common symptoms of anxiety. So I just want to define anxiety so we're all coming from the same page. So the Oxford English Dictionary defines anxiety as a state of feeling nervous or worried that something bad is going to happen. So occasional anxiety is a normal part of life, and having anxiety is normal. And it can be a great driver for motivation and success. But the issue comes is when it doesn't go away or it gets worse over time. And it can be when your symptoms interfere with other daily activities, such as your job performance, daily tasks, and relationships. So you had to think about what anxiety was for yourself. And these are some very common symptoms of anxiety for most people. So difficulty controlling feelings of worry, difficulty concentrating, feeling restless, wound up on edge, being tired and irritable, and then also getting physical symptoms as well. So most common headaches, muscle and stomach aches, IBS and unexplained pains. And I'm going to talk quite a bit more about the gut later on and the connection of the brain and the gut and its role in anxiety. And for some people, difficulty sleeping, you can't switch off, and insomnia, but it's different for different people. Here's a nice little chart about the effects on the body. So this is mainly just to show how every body system is interlinked. And when it comes to thinking about anxiety, it's not just mental health, and it's not just our endocrine health and our nervous system that we're looking at. You know, it affects our muscles, it affects the gut, it even affects your bones. And it can decrease your immunity. And for some people, if they're going through a stressful or very anxious period, they can even get acne or psoriasis and skin issues, and it can have an effect on cardiovascular health as well. So it is systemic and quite far-reaching. So next up, we've got a little questionnaire here for you. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to read through. I'm hoping you can all see these large enough. So if you read through them and score them each, either frequently, occasionally, or rarely, and frequently is 2 points, occasionally is 1, and rarely is 0. You've got 22 questions here, so I'll just go quiet for a little bit and I'll let you guys fill that out. Okay, so I'm hoping by now you should be towards filling out the end. And if you want to tot up your answers and get a final score, okay, so, and then with your score in mind, we can compare it to this score chart. So it's just good to get an indication. I think sometimes it can be quite difficult to know if you are kind of feeling anxious or low, and sometimes seeing it on paper can help you realise that it might be something that you need to address, or actually that it's something that you're managing very well. So below 5, nothing to worry about, very normal mood. Between 5 and 10, you might be, you know, feeling a little under the blues. So follow some of the advice here that will help kind of get you back on track. If you're scoring between 11 and 15, then the recommendation would be to seek some additional support. And if your score's over 15, then would definitely encourage you to go speak to your GP and get some help, as well as following some of the advice here. And it might be that you need some more tailored support to help you on your journey. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the biochemistry of anxiety. And I'm going to chat about what's actually going on in your body from a chemical point of view. So what happens in your body when you feel anxious? It all happens so fast. It's all automatic. We're completely unaware of it. So we have, or most of you would have heard of nerve cells, which are also called neurons. Now, the human body contains 100 billion nerve cells, and 86 billion of these are in the brain. And that literally blew my brain when I found that out. So the illustration on the left there is of the nerve cell. And on the end, they have the structure like tree branches, and these are called dendrites. And this is what receives the anxiety signal from the previous nerve cell. And that anxiety signal comes in the form of a neurotransmitter. So what happens is the neurotransmitter docks onto the end of that little tree branch, and it sends an electrical charge that goes through the nucleus, which is the dark purple circle, and sends it down the myelin sheath, which is the yellow tail, to pass the message on to the next one. So this is what's responsible for carrying anxiety signals and carrying them so fast. So the neurotransmitters that carry these signals. So these are basically chemical information messengers that carry signals from one nerve cell to another nerve cell, muscle, or gland. And they basically tell something to do something else, and they're responsible for passing on the feeling of anxiety and passing on the message. They can also be responsible for passing on the feelings of calmness as well. So it goes both ways. At the end of those tree branches that you saw on the previous slide, we have what's called a synapse, and you can see that in the illustration here. So these synapses are actually not connected. What happens is the neurotransmitter gets packaged up into something called a vesicle, which is a little pouch, and it travels this teeny, tiny little gap to go onto the next nerve cell. So this is where the chain reaction is happening, and the next follows as the last did. So neurotransmitters that are involved with anxiety, some of these you will be aware of. So one is serotonin. This is our happy mood, and I'm going to talk and focus mostly in this presentation about that. Then there's also cortisol, which is involved in our stress response, along with aiding fight or flight. It also helps the body release glucose from storage in times of stress. Adrenaline and noradrenaline, and this increases your heart rate, and it's involved in attention and stress response. Then we've got glutamate, which is involved in memory and cognition. This is excitatory in the brain, and it increases anxiety. And then we have GABA, and the GABA opposes glutamate. It's like the happy twin of glutamate, basically, and it's calming on the brain, and it inhibits nerve transmission. And deficiency in GABA production is linked with some people with anxiety. So now I'm going to talk a bit more about serotonin. This is the chemical structure of serotonin. Very happy. So other functions of serotonin, apart from regulating anxiety and mood, is it's also involved in memory, in sleep. You need serotonin to make a enzyme called melatonin, which is part of your circadian rhythm, which helps you get to sleep at night. It's involved in libido. It's also involved in gastromotility and bowel movements, and it helps clot the blood during wound healing. So where is serotonin produced? Well, this is where the gut comes in. So 95% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut, and it's produced by cells called enterochromaffin cells. And the remaining 5% is produced in the brain. So this is why what you consume and the health of your gut is so important and has a direct influence on your mental health. So in order to make serotonin, we need some of these essential nutrients. And deficiency in any of these can result in decreased serotonin production. So we've got tryptophan, which is an amino acid, which I'm going to talk a bit more about later on, mostly found in protein sources. Magnesium, which is very calming and also involved in energy production and nerve transmission. Omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory and very nourishing for the brain. Vitamin D, which is involved in pretty much everything in your body, which most people are very, very aware of it post-COVID to do with the immune system, but it's also involved in nerve cells and general well-being and mood. And then a few others involved there. I've got calcium, mixture of B vitamins, iron, vitamin C, and zinc. So most of these foods can be found in a combination of grass-fed beef, we've got chicken within turkey, dark green leafy vegetables such as kale and broccoli, chickpeas, cauliflower, peppers, kale, basically lots of whole foods and lots of nourishing proteins and vegetables. So now we've established what anxiety is, how it sends messages around your body and where your serotonin is produced, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to improve production. So your gut microbiome It's a collection of hundreds of trillions of microorganisms that live in your digestive tract. And it's been a lot in the media recently. I'm sure you've all come across it in some form or another. But this is where 95% of your serotonin is produced, having a direct influence on our whole health. So we also have microbiomes in other areas, and these other microbiomes do also affect our gut microbiome. So your mouth and your skin within your respiratory tract, urogenital tract, and in the mammary gland of females as well. So the gut is the microbiome that gets most talked about, but the health and or the disease state of other areas in the body of these areas do affect your gut microbiome as well. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the gut-brain axis. So this is a two-way communication system that links the emotional and cognitive centers of the brain with the gut. So your gut and brain are connected by a nerve called the vagus nerve, and this links the two systems together. So imbalance of the gut microbiota, also known as dysbiosis, can affect the nervous system and is often involved in anxiety. And this also explains why stress can cause digestive symptoms and why those with digestive symptoms also often experience anxiety. And here is a little illustration of how each affects the other. So it also influences digestion, motility, nutrient absorption, balance of inflammation, and then also your behavior. So therefore, imbalance in the gut bacteria impacts serotonin production. And research has shown that certain levels of good bacteria, and I do a quote marks with good bacteria because we have some bacteria in our guts that are useful to us most of the time. However, if they grow in abundance, they don't allow enough space for other good bacteria and they can become problematic. There's also so-called, quote, bad bacteria. Some are purely pathogenic and are truly bad bugs. However, some of them do have some benefits. So it's all about the quantity that you have of each within the gut. So our balance of good bacteria has a direct impact of how much serotonin is produced. So we want to make sure that there's lots of the good bugs and not too much of the bad bugs. The gut also produces other molecules that are important for a non-anxious mood, such as short-chain fatty acids, and these are produced by certain bacteria in a healthy, happy gut. So a gut imbalance can result in molecules entering the bloodstream from the gut that shouldn't be there. This is known as leaky gut, and this can cause systemic and nerve cell inflammation. And then just to note, it is possible to have an imbalance in the gut without any gut-specific symptoms. So, for example, with myself, when I was working through a lot of this, I didn't have any gut symptoms, but when I worked on my gut, I saw a drastic shift in my mental health. And in nutrition, we see anxiety as a gut symptom. So next, I'm just going to touch a little on inflammation. So anxiety induces immune system alterations that can result in systemic inflammation and neuroinflammation. Excuse me. So systemic inflammation is inflammation of the whole body, including the gut and brain, because the immune system is activated. So this results in brain alterations that further add to the cycle of anxiety. And this inflammation produces a molecule called cytokines that alter the way nerve cells communicate and what messages they send. So all mental health symptoms have a connection in some way or another to inflammation. For example, this could be due to stress, it could be due to medications, toxins, pollution, or for some people, it might be latent bacteria or viral infections, for example, as a past EBV or Epstein-Barr infection or Lyme. And this can also, you can also have excess inflammation due to excess weight and also gut imbalance. Hormones also can play in anxiety as well. So fluctuating levels of our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and then also thyroid hormones can be implicated as well. Imbalance in these hormones disrupt tryptophan metabolism. So you need tryptophan in order to make serotonin, as I mentioned earlier on. So a good example is during a woman's menstrual cycle when she might have mood fluctuations. So it's normal to see some changes during the cycle, but these changes should not impact your daily life to the point where they get in the way and there's big mood swings and other things that really impact your daily living. So that's an indication that there is some hormonal imbalance going on there. So when we're stressed, we decrease production of progesterone, and progesterone stimulates GABA, which is our feel-good, calming neurotransmitter that I mentioned earlier on. And low estrogen or testosterone or thyroid hormones also decrease serotonin production. Okay, so now I'm going to talk more about food and what is great to be eating and what is not so much and what we want to avoid. So you'll probably be familiar with some of these and why they're not great for you, but in relation to anxiety, I'll give you some specifics about why. So alcohol, it inhibits GABA. It also disrupts the gut, so it decreases serotonin production. So it slows down the nervous system and it inhibits nerve transmission in the brain, hence that feeling of being drunk and more relaxed and not in control. But it is a depressant because of this. And it acts like a weed killer on what we kind of talk about the gut sometimes as a garden. So in your internal garden, it acts as a weed killer and it literally just kills off the good bugs that are good for you. Refined sugar. So we call it the sugar roller coaster. And when you consume sugar, your sugar levels in your blood go up. And then a few hours later, they come down and they quite often come crashing down. And this can trigger anxiety. Some of you might refer to this as being hangry. But if you're getting feelings of being hangry, then that shows that your blood sugar is dipping up and down. And that might be one of the triggers for you. So what happens when you have refined sugar is your body doesn't feel safe because it doesn't know when its energy is next going to be high and when it's next going to be low. So you enter a state of fight or flight. It also promotes yeast overgrowth in the gut and it outnumbering the good bacteria, and also results in difficulty of this good bacteria adhering to the gut wall. Artificial sweeteners and preservatives are known to cause dysbiosis, and they also affect nerve transmission in the vagus nerve, which I was speaking about with the gut-brain axis. They also reduce a protective antibody called secretory IgA, and emulsifiers are particularly bad for this. Processed foods, including deep fried. So one of the reasons is they release energy very quickly, resulting in that disruption of the blood sugar roller coaster, it going up and down. But they're also low in nutrients. They're known to increase inflammation and quite often high in bad fats. Caffeine. So caffeine found in black tea, coffee, and energy drinks. So this stimulates overexcitement of the nervous system, hence why you can feel more wired when you are drinking caffeine. But it also affects your ability to detox effectively. So it can trigger anxiety for some people. To note here, different people have different genetic capabilities for detoxifying caffeine. So as a rule of thumb, no more than 2 a day. But some people benefit more from cutting out completely. And then our bad fats, which are a byproduct of a process called hydrogenation, which turns healthy oils into solids to prevent them becoming rancid. But they have no known benefits and must be avoided, but mostly found in the processed foods. So what foods should you be eating? So these are foods to focus on to help you with anxiety. So I want you all to get smashed. So not as fun as it sounds, but this is to do with fish. So salmon mackerel, anchovies, sardines, herring, and trout. So SMASHED is the acronym for that. And that's because they contain important omega-3s that are anti-inflammatory, nourishing, and also calming. So those who are vegetarian or don't like fish definitely can benefit from supplementation. And for some people, even if you do eat these fish, you can still benefit from supplementation because it may be that genetically you're more predisposed to producing inflammation. So you need this to dampen down your fire. Vegetables, you want to be aiming for 7 different veggies when 1 serving is 1 fistful a day. So the fiber here keeps your good bugs happy. And also it's the micronutrients that you're getting to help you with the serotonin production. We want to be focusing on low GI fruit, so not tropical fruits and nothing too sugary, such as the ones listed there. Probiotics, which introduce good bacteria and also feed your existing good bacteria. Dark green leafy vegetables, and now these are high in magnesium, and these are great for calming the nervous system and also for energy production. Nuts and seeds for their protein, magnesium, healthy fat, antioxidant, and a source of selenium, specifically Brazil nuts. And selenium is found to be low in anxious and depressed patients in clinical trials. So I usually recommend at least 3 Brazil nuts a day, and you want to make sure that they've come from South America because they have a high selenium content in their soil. And instead of caffeine, we want to be going towards herbal teas. So chamomile, passion flower, lemon balm, and green tea. These all have calming qualities. And we want to be cooking with lots of different herbs and spices. This variety is great for your gut health. And focusing on healthy fats, such as avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, organic butter, and ghee. And these are really important for the health of your nerves. So I touched on tryptophan before, and these are the main sources where tryptophan can be found. So tryptophan is the most bioavailable precursor to serotonin, and it's an amino acid. So your body's able to produce some amino acids itself, and then some are what we call essential, which means your body can't produce them and you must basically eat them. And tryptophan is one of these essential amino acids. So it's highest in turkey and chicken, but it can also be found in eggs, fish, most specifically salmon, tofu and tempeh, peanuts, and pumpkin and sesame seeds. And then just a note that I've come across some research recently that anxiety is more prevalent in those who are vegan or have vegetarian diets. And those who avoid meat consumption do tend to suffer more with depression and anxiety. And this is due to the reduction of tryptophan coming from the diet, and then also less of the omega-3s, which are the anti-inflammatory. So just the point that if you are vegetarian or vegan, that it's tailored support and making sure that you're getting enough of the plant foods that have the tryptophan in it is really, really important. And supplementation with omega-3, either from a fish source or also there's some from algae sources as well, are really beneficial. So I spoke a little bit about magnesium. I just wanted to outline why magnesium is so important. So deficiency has been found in those with poor mental health. So it's required for muscle relaxation, decreasing inflammation, and stimulating your melatonin and your serotonin. So your melatonin is to do with sleep and serotonin to do with feeling happy and content. And therefore it improves sleep quality and quantity. And you can find magnesium in nuts and seeds, 70% dark chocolate. Sorry, your milk chocolate does not contain any magnesium. It's found in protein sources, veggies, dark green leafy veg, and you can also get it transdermally, so through your skin, through Epsom salt baths as well. And then just to round off, I've got a little bit of lifestyle advice here as well. So morning sunlight exposure increases serotonin production, but also vitamin D stimulates good mood. Diaphragmatic breathing, which stimulates the vagus nerve in the gut-brain axis to calm. Spending time outside in green spaces. Movement, whatever movement that is for you, it can be walking, it can be running, it can be Pilates, but being consistent and doing it a few times a week and sticking to it is the most important thing. And then social enrichment, singing, playing music, and laughter, all really important for stimulating the vagus nerve, and also cold exposure, which has got quite a lot of media attention as well, which you might be familiar with. A little note on sleep hygiene. So insufficient sleep results in increased stress hormones, which creates a vicious circle. So prioritizing sleep is really, really important. So some basic sleep hygiene, which can really help, is no screens 60 minutes before bed, making sure your room is kept dark and using blackout blinds so you're not woken up when the sun rises. No food 2 hours before bed. And if you're eating a well-balanced diet, you shouldn't be hungry before bed either. Your room being a cooler temperature, around 18 degrees. And waking up at the same day, same time every day of the week, yes, even on weekends, is really, really important for your circadian rhythm, and also having a consistent bedtime. Much easier said than done, I am very aware. So last off, I'd like you just to have a think about the things that have come up in this presentation. Where do you think you might be lacking? Is there anything that you've learned that you would like to implement? How are you going to implement them? Is there anyone that you need to contact to help you get this in place, or reach out and ask for some support? And when are you going to do this by? So feel free to take a screen grab of this, or also I will send Ellie a PDF as well, so you can come back to it and revisit any of the information. And then finally, thank you for listening to me yabber on about nutrition. That is my Instagram account. My website isn't up yet. It's going to be done by the end of the month. But if you head over there, I do lots of tips and tricks and nutrition support and advice there. Thank you.